And the holiday seasons are upon us. And with that, holiday shopping. Buying all kinds of stuff for people who just don't appreciate it. Haha. So anyway, anybody who knows anything about me or watches my videos knows I love shopping on eBay. I love it. eBay's a great place for me. And I'm here to help some people out. I'm here to do a quick video on tips and tricks to save you some money on eBay. So this entire video is going to be a whole lot of tell, not a lot of show. Because there really isn't a lot to show. I'm just going to be sitting here talking. So, you know, maybe that helps some people out. First things first, some people might be asking, why am I doing tips and tricks for eBay? What kind of background do I have? Well, just to let everybody know, I've had my eBay account now, I don't know, 18, 19 years, something like that, the last time I checked. And I have close to 44,000 positive feedback. So I have a little bit of experience on eBay. So let's get this started. So first thing I gotta say, don't be afraid to shop on eBay. Everybody's heard those horror stories where, oh my God, I bought something for 400 bucks, or I bought an Xbox and it was just the box. A lot of that can be avoided. First thing you got to do is make sure to check the person's feedback. If somebody's on there with a $2,000 item and they have zero feedback, don't buy it. Just don't do it. Common sense will actually solve a lot of these problems. For a lot of the other problems, like with miscommunication, eBay has safeguards in place to protect the buyer and the seller, and more times than not, they side with the buyer. So, just to give you a heads up, there are ways to get, to protect your purchases. It's really not a big deal. All right. Now, the next thing is, when you're shopping on eBay, you gotta be patient. Have to be patient. eBay is like a giant flea market, okay? And it's a flea market that has millions of people that stop by every single day selling millions of items. And everything shows up at least once. Unless you need it right now, this second, give it some time. Don't be in a rush to buy something. And this is where the next thing comes in. Make sure you do your research when you're buying something on eBay. Don't get gouged. The biggest way to actually do research is to check completed items. Now, let's say somebody has, the X-Men #1 from the 90s that has the triple or the five-fold, gatefold cover. That's really badass that Jim Lee did. And let's say, you search on eBay and you find the cheapest one that's 20 bucks. Why? No, you are not going to spend 20 bucks for this book. I don't care if it's the cheapest one on there. Do your research, check completed auctions, and then you'll see what it's actually selling for and what to actually pay for it. I mean, that book is only going to sell for 5 to 10 bucks. Don't pay $20 for it if it's only selling for 5 to 10 bucks. Be patient. Wait for it to come back up again, and it will come back up again. Now, if you want to know how to search completed auctions, do this. And here is our search for Strange Tales 180, first appearance of Gamora. And you come over here and you scroll down, and you see right here, completed listings. So you click that and it will automatically resort by completed items. And you can sort right here by what has ended recently. And then you can check and see what these things are actually selling for. Like I said, don't get gouged. Alright, see? Easy. That's how you check completed auctions. Don't get gouged. Just don't do it. Now, next trick, actually not trick, it's actually common sense. Make sure to check the pictures. If you're looking for a comic book in a specific condition, a lot of times people are going to say, oh, I don't know what this is. I'm not a professional grader. Make sure to check the pictures. Check the pictures. And even if you don't like the pictures, ask for more pictures. Sellers are more than happy to provide extra pictures if you don't like the ones that are already there. Another reason to look at the pictures and to ask for pictures is because specific companies out there, there's actually one in particular called My Comic Shop, they run a lot of consignment, and all their comics vary in price, and they vary crazy wide prices, and they always use stock photos for every single one. So with that one, also make sure to read your description. 8 times out of 10, when there's a miscommunication, it's because the person buying did not read the description. Check it. Check the description. A seller might say, hey, there's a little gouge here in the corner, and you can't see it in the picture. Check both your items. Check both it. Pictures, descriptions. Look over it thoroughly. Common sense, people. That's all this is right now, up until this point. Now, next thing. Unless you're actually looking for an item that you need right now, this second, don't be afraid to look out of the country. A lot of people don't want to wait the shipping times for stuff coming out of the UK or coming out of Australia. But check. You might save yourself a lot of money. It's, you know, for example, I actually did bring some examples here. Gen 13 #1 Ash Can Edition. Man, this thing is pretty. It's in such good shape. I picked this up out of the UK, and it was a quarter of the price that I would pay for it in the US. I mean, look at this thing. Beautiful. All the corners are nice and crisp. You can't touch this in the States for less than 80 bucks. But because I decided to wait an extra week or two, I was actually able to get it, like I said, a quarter of the price. I think I paid actually 15 bucks for it. And I'll get to that in a second here. Now, the reason that is because I bought two. Now, this comes up to our next point. Buy it nows and best offers. Do not be afraid to make best offers. I mean, really, I know some people look at the price and like, well, that's good enough price. I'll pay full for it. No, if a person wasn't willing to haggle, they wouldn't put a best price or a best offer option in there. I believe this gentleman had them up for $25 a piece, if I'm not mistaken. And now he probably would have come down to 20 because I wanted one. But because I wanted two, I offered him 15 bucks a piece. And he took it. 2 weeks later, I'm sitting on two mint condition Gen 13 #1 ash cans, of which I can now sell one and make some money. Don't be afraid to do that. So, 2 points there. Don't be afraid to look out of the country. Don't be afraid to do buy it nows with best offers. Make an offer. I make offers on $3 books. If they have the option to make an offer, I'm going to make an offer. If I see a comic book for $3, I'm going to offer them two. I'm all for saving $1. In this case, I saved a lot more than $1. Another thing that actually, look at this. Two more, and I'm going to sell one, and it's going to pay for both. Don't be afraid to do this. Really. I mean, if you have the cash, and if you're going to spend, you know, full price and get 2 books, do it. And then sell one. Make some money. Why not? Right? Do it. All right, now, the next thing. Oh, here we go. Lower grade books. There are times out there when you will see books that, you know, have a crease on the cover or something. And you look at that and you're like, well, you know, maybe you want to CGC the book. And, you know, on CGC you're only at a 9.2. CGC, you can pay $15 and get the book pressed. And then you might get a 9.6 out of it. So don't be afraid to look at lower grade books. With the lower grade books though, there's good damage and there's bad damage. Actually, let me grab something here. Gore Shriek #1. You're about to get schooled on comic book pressing. I know comic book pressing is kind of, you know, I don't know, people are kind of either for it or against it. It's kind of controversial. I say do it. Why the hell not? Alright, first up, good damage. I don't know if you can see this, but there's actually a bend right there in the book. Easily pressed out. You will never know it's there. That's an example of good damage. Bad damage. See these color breaks here on the corners? Right here on the covers? Bad damage. That will not press out. No matter what you do, it's always going to stay there. But if you have a book that has these folds in it, you might be able to press it out and get a better grade. Specifically if you're buying CGC books. CGC will have detailed grader notes. There are a lot of times though when, you know, if you only get 1 or 2 books pressed a year, you're not going to have access to grader notes. Make friends with people at a comic book store. A lot of these companies, or a lot of these stores, or big sellers will have their own accounts with CGC that they actually pay for, and they'll have access to grader notes. If you see a cool book on eBay and you're like, hey, it's a 9.2, I really want to see what kind of damage this has, there's a serial number on it, and you can have that looked up at CGC, and they will look up the grader notes, and you can see what the notes say. And the notes might say fold, or it might say bend. If that's the case, you know, buy the book. Save yourself a few bucks, get it pressed, regraded. It might get you a grade or 2 bump. Don't be afraid to look at lower grade books. You know, a lot of people are like, well, I want the 9.8 right now. It's just, you know, sometimes it's just not feasible. And if you can get away with saving a few bucks and making a 9.8 anyway, why not do it? Let's see. Oh, now one of the other things you have to look for when you do look at CGC books, though, is, this is really sad to say, but there actually are counterfeit books out there right now. So when you get your CGC book in the mail, make sure you look around the corners and around the edges and look for cracks in the case. Let's see if I guess I should have had all these ready to start with. Didn't know I was going to have this much stuff out though. So when you have your CGC book, oh, actually let me do this. Here is that serial number I was telling you about. That you can actually have this looked up and check the grader notes on it to see why it got that grade, and maybe if some of that imperfections can be pressed out to get you a better graded book. Okay, next up, now back to the counterfeiting. Make sure you check your seams when you get your book in the mail. I guess it's become not common, but some unscrupulous people will actually do this, where they will either crack it open and switch the book out, or they will pop this out and put it in a lesser graded book. And it's kind of sad that people actually do this, and I have to warn you about it, but it does happen. So make sure you look for cracks, you know, that the seam isn't popped open completely. Like right here, this is a nice seam. I mean, that's, yeah, you can stick your thumbnail in there, but once you get to this area, ain't happening. So look for cracks, look for chips, anything like that. And most sellers on eBay will give you at least a 14-day return policy. So you can always return it to them. But if it doesn't have a return policy, eBay does offer a not as described option. So if you do happen to get a book that you feel is counterfeit and you want to return it and the seller won't take it back, open a case that the item is not as described. With those cases, 9 times out of the 10, eBay is going to side with the buyer because they guarantee it, even if the seller does not accept returns. So, there's that. Alright, so, I mean, that's pretty much everything. You know, a lot of it is common sense, and some of it's, you know, kind of fun. So, let's recap here. We have, first thing, be patient. Be patient. Everything shows up on eBay at least once. Second thing, make sure you do your research. Check completed items. Don't pay $30 for a book that you can get for $5 in a week when somebody else puts it up. Just don't do it. Don't. Next thing, you know, you do have to take a little bit of responsibility and make sure you check your pictures. Check the pictures. You know, most reputable sellers will have at least 2 good size pictures, front and back. A lot of them will put up pictures of every single corner and an interior shot. Make sure you study them. Next thing, keep an eye out for sellers that do use stock photos. I know it happens. Usually it's the big sellers that do this. I think like Mile High Comics does it as well, and no, maybe they don't. I don't remember. We'll have to double check. Who knows? But definitely My Comic Shop uses stock photos, so make sure you read the descriptions. They will have detailed descriptions of all the defects of their books. So check both. Like I said, take some responsibility. Make sure you know what you're buying first. Next up, Don't be afraid to look out of the country. If you don't need the book right now, look outside the US. Stuff coming from especially the UK and Australia, usually 2 weeks, which really isn't that long to wait to save 75% off of the actual resale cost of something. Next up, don't be afraid to buy 2 books if you can afford it, especially if you plan on spending if you were planning on buying this for $80, why not buy 2 of them for $30 and then make some money? Wow, who doesn't like money? Save some, make some. Hey, sounds like a win-win to me. Also, make sure you check best offers. Definitely check those best offer listings first. Those things are crazy, and if a person wasn't willing to accept a lower price, they wouldn't have put that on there. And you can usually finagle them even lower than what they really wanted to spend on it. So, who knows? You might have saved some extra money there. What else we got? Oh, don't be afraid to look at lower grade books and have them pressed. And there's even a lot of companies that just do it on the side. If you just want a book, I know CGC, they charge $15 to press the book, but it increases the turnaround time on getting your grade by like 4 months or something like that. I personally use a company called Comics in a Flash, and the gentleman has always taken care of me there, and $15, exact same price as CGC, so it's a little bit more than most places. Most places charge like between 10 and 12, but I go with this guy because I really like him. He knows what he's doing, and I have my books back in 4 weeks start to finish. 4 weeks. And if you want, he can forward them on to either CGC or CBCS for an extra cost. The other thing is you can pay $8 per book and have the pressing time cut in half. So for a 4-week pressing time down to 2 weeks for an extra $8 if you were on a time crunch, let's say if you wanted to get a book signed or whatever. Yeah, so anyway, do not be afraid. Just watch out for good and bad damage, like we talked about. Good damage, just a minor crease. Bad damage, color breaks. Nothing you can do about that. And last up, I even hate mentioning it again, but be careful of counterfeits. They are out there. You can even, I'm not only talking about eBay here, I'm talking about counterfeits anywhere. One might have slipped into your local comic book shop and they didn't know it, or you might find a counterfeit on Craigslist. Just be careful. Keep an eye out. Look for damage on the cases. But if the case has a crack on the front, more than likely it's just because it was dropped. It's not because it was, somebody took the thing out. And, that's pretty much it. And the last thing is, have fun. Collecting comic books is supposed to be a great, fun hobby. Don't let it stress you out. Just have a blast. For me, this is a treasure hunt. I love treasure hunts. Can't get enough of them. So, that's that. If anybody has any questions or, comments, make sure you leave it down below, especially if you have tips of your own that you want to share with people. Leave them in the comments and we'll talk about it. Or if, you disagree with something I said here, leave it down in the comments. I will totally talk to people about this stuff. I want to help people out. That's what this channel is for. This channel is to be informative, is to have fun, and help people. If I can help you save a few bucks, I'm going to do it. I've been using these tricks for years myself. Especially this out-of-country one. Ooh, that's a good one. You can really find some good deals. So, yeah, that's that. And, if this video helps anyone, make sure you leave me a like. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure you share. Help other people out too. And, yeah, thanks for watching. And like always, take it easy.